YouTube, what's going on? All right, so finally I can do a comparison video with my M2 competition and my buddy's M3 because I don't have mine anymore. So it's a comparison video, differences between the two. Okay, so first things first, noticeably, is the front grille. You have the G80 with the big grille, which I think signifies the car. A lot of people don't like it. I liked it. And of course, the M2 is a coupe and the M3 comes in a sedan. So if you wanted a coupe, you'd have to get the M4. But in comparison, the M3 is a lot bigger, which, you know, if you need the space, that's a perfect car to have with the power behind it. So now, in comparison between power, of course, the M3 makes more. It comes with 473 and the M2 only comes with 410. So what I like about the M3 is you have the option to either have a sunroof or a carbon roof. Now with the M2, the only option you have is a sunroof or just a plain roof. You don't get the carbon roof because that's only on the M2CS. And on the headlights, the M2 is a adaptive LED, whereas in the M3 you have the laser lights or the LED lights. So in my eyes, the laser lights for the M3 is a must, because on mine I had the regular LEDs and the rings don't go all the way around, so it's like you don't have the full BMW ring signature look. So what's perfect about this comparison is my buddy's M3 is manual as well, because mine was manual. So the comparison between the two is in the M2, it's a little bit notchier than the M3, but not too much notchier. It in a sense almost feels the same, but just slightly different. You would have to drive both to understand it. And the shifter in the M2, see what I mean by it's slightly tighter and less washy. And here you see the shifter, right? And like, this is, I don't want to say it's sloshy, but it's a little bit less notchy, and I like the notchy feel when I'm shifting. But I had, you know, my M3 was manual, and of course my M2 is manual. I only drive manual. Nothing against automatics, but it's just preferably for me. I prefer it better. So, of course, you see here in the interior, the difference is the infotainment, which is up here, and on the M3, which you'll see in a minute, it's different. And also on my dash, the instrument cluster, it is not digital. It is dials. The only thing that's digital is the center where you have the miles per hour or kilometer readout. And here you see the instrument cluster, which are the dials. The only thing digital is the speedometer, which is either in kilometers or in miles per hour. I'm here in Germany, so I switched it to kilometers. So I have a competition, and the seats are the semi-bucket seats. Now, in Europe, you have a choice to get the regular seats that come in OG, or you can get these seats. I would get these seats because they feel great. Now, in my M3, I didn't have the nice seats. I had the regular seats. And in my buddy's car, he has the nice seats. So that's a slight difference in comparison, because he opted for the carbon buckets, which is real nice. One thing I do like on the M3 is that they have the aluminum pedals all around. So the dead pedal is the same, but the clutch, brake, and the gas pedal is in the regular rubber. Here you see in the G80 M3, the interior is updated. So he didn't get the comfort seats, he got the carbon buckets, which are, looking back, I should have got these seats. They hold you in and they're comfortable. They're not uncomfortable. For me, I didn't get them because on a long drive, when I was in my Shelby out here in Germany, it hurt my back. So, old man problem. Between the two seats, these hold you in more, but I like those as well. Better than the comfort seats that come in the M3. Again, people, this is a comparison. This is not a gig. You know, like I said, I've been wanting to do the comparison video for a while now. So here you see, in order to get in, you just put one foot down. You got to kind of slide over, right? Make sure you're in, and bam. Now you're in. With the digital cluster and the infotainment, right? So this is my comparison. That one, I don't like that this one is right here. I wish it was up higher so I don't have to kind of look down. But what I do like about this is my buddy has the executive package, which you have the heads-up display. Now, I wish my M2 had the option to get a heads-up display, because the F80 M3s and the F82 M4s has the option to get the heads-up display. With the newer cars, you know, you have the amenities of the cameras for the front, the sides, and the rear. My M2, I only have a camera in the rear. Here is the instrument cluster, all digital. And I actually like the digital cluster. You know, of course, the dials are cool because that's what we've all had. But with the digital cluster, it's nice. The only thing is not nice is when they go out. But for that to happen, it's less than likely. And you see on here, my start-stop button is over here on the M2, whereas on the M3, it's here. Start-stop button right there. So now we'll compare engines. All right, lift the hood. Lift the hood. So, of course, first things first that you notice is the engines are totally different. They're both inline six twin turbos, but in the S55, you have the air-to-water intercooler on top. And with the S58, there is no air-to-water intercooler, but I will show you where the intercooler is on this. So, we'll start off with the M2 first. I like that they had the carbon engine brace, whereas in the M3 they had the metal braces. Now companies have came out with carbon ones, which are nice, but they should have just stuck with the carbon, right? It worked, it looked great. So in the F80 M3s and the F82 M4s, they produce 425 horsepower, and mine only produces 410. Now in the G80s, they produce 473 and 510 competition wise. This only has 410, which is okay. It's a lot for this car. So, you know, a couple minor upgrades already be up into 450. And the M2CS comes with 444 horsepower anyways. So that's a lot. So remember how I was saying that this doesn't have a air-to-water intercooler? It just has a normal intercooler? Well, I'll show you. The intercooler is right here, as you can see. Do mind that, but it's right here where the silver. And of course, this is the intake manifold, but this is the intercooler. So the design with the G80's intercooler is embedded with the intake manifold. A lot of people will say, no, that's not the intercooler. It is the intercooler. I've had this car for a whole year before and had a breakdown with the German engineers. But just, you know, just to fill y'all in, not to school y'all. But if anyone doesn't believe that's intercooler, that is the intercooler right there. So if you see, in comparison lengthwise, of course, the M2 is a lot smaller. It's a coupe. And it's not like the M4s, which is a long coupe. This has got a shorter wheelbase. Here you see the M3. But the one thing I will say about the M3 to the M2 is the M3 outbeats it in the hip challenge. Look how wide this is compared to the M2. All right, so all in all, the comparison between the two is night and day, of course. But when it comes to performance, they are similar in a way. The M3, of course, has more power, but that's because it's a bigger car with a different engine. And the M2, smaller, 410 is just enough for this car. Now, if you want more power to you. Do I miss mine? Yes. But in comparison, the M2 was my first build, and it was a car that I should have stuck with. But I'm happy that I got to experience the G80 M3. It is such a beautiful car. The look on the front, people are so used to the old kidney grills that you've seen from the way back when, and it's nice to have a little change. And I like how the front just looks so different, right? And everybody has their taste, but I do like how BMW came out with this big grill. It really, the car, it's a head turner. Whether you think it's ugly or whether you think it looks awesome, it will turn heads, you know. And I like how BMW went different, and this car sells like hotcakes. Whether it sells here in Europe, 100 grand euro plus, or in the United States where it's 80, 90 grand plus, especially with the adjusted dealer markup. So the last thing I'll say is, between both cars, I love them both. If I could afford both, I would sure still have my M3. This is my comparison video. Of course, others may be, different, but this is how I view both of them. And I want to thank my buddy Jahziel for letting me use his car as a perfect comparison, because this is manual and his is an M3 and not an M4. So thank you, bro, for that. And thanks for watching, y'all. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, and I'll catch you next time. All right, y'all.